We have the piece that we were showing being weeded and applied to the film, ready to go, and this is where it's going to go right here. And you will see that, I'll hold this in here, that this lines up with the piece that's already existing. So I'm really going to end up cutting it probably like right across there so that it transitions with the least amount of overlap. Now, I started to say in another video, one of the issues you have to be careful with the overlap is if the pieces line up perfectly, it's fine. There's no big deal. But many times you'll get double, when you put a double layer down, the things will be misaligned. And I try really hard to not make this look like it's done with vinyl. My art skills aren't good enough to be able to draw these things without being able to manipulate them forever on the computer, and that's really what I'm doing. I'm drawing them on the computer, but it allows me to manipulate them and mirror them and correct them. And so when I overlap a couple pieces, if I have two lines that line up, fine. The etch doesn't care. But if one of those is offset, of course, you get a step in the side of the line, or you get extra vines laid over all other vines, and the things don't look right. So you gotta, also this vinyl really likes to stick to itself. So you have to be very mindful when you put the vinyl down on top of another piece of vinyl, is that you really want to make sure that it's the vinyl on top that you're going to cut away and remove of the overlap. Because if you plan on removing any of the vinyl from underneath of that overlap, it's a real tricky thing, because you have to peel the vinyl off the top, get it out of the way, cut the piece underneath, and put it back. And it is very tricky. So I also said earlier in the video, this surface that I'm using here is polypropylene. It's a non-stick plastic. Most people know it from plastic milk jugs. The material is really great. It's a milky, translucent plastic that you can get at a lot of different plastic supply companies. Certainly now online you can get it. It's not very expensive. And I use a piece that's about 90 thousandths thick. That's about 3/32 in thickness. And that is stiff enough that I can lay it down on my table and use it as a cutting surface. And I use it because it won't dull the blade of an X-Acto knife like a piece of wood or cardboard would. It's also very slick when you cut on it. It's quite nice. So it's really a worthwhile material to get. And also, because nothing sticks to it, I also use it as a surface for casting plastics. I do a lot of urethane plastics casting. And if I spill urethane on this, and I just let it set up, I let it go off and get hard, and then I take a knife like this, put it on the edge, and pop it right off. It'll come right off. Nothing sticks to it, unless it's all scarred up like you can see it is here. So what I'll do for my cutting surface is I'll use this side until it gets too scarred up. I'll flip it over, use the other side. And because it's not that expensive, this piece is getting ready to be replaced. It's gotten quite a few cuts on it, but it's really quite handy. So again, the area that I'm going to cut, and what I'll do is let's see, I got a nice little desk holder here of all sorts of implements to hold all the things that I use, including my fine Sharpie, and I didn't put it back. Okay, so here's the fine Sharpie. So what I'll do is I'll position this. I'm going to trim this top edge there just so I can line it right up. And again, because this artwork was the same artwork, you can see that we get like a perfect alignment right there. So now what I can do, hold it for my alignment, give myself a line, and you see that's right about where that ends. So now I can cut that off. Okay, so now that piece should line up right there. Now you notice here, I overlooked, I forgot to put some vine work in there, but I'll just put that in with the same bottle I put these dots on with. Now the other thing that I do is I took old shirt, folded it up, and sliced it into a bunch of these little squares, an old t-shirt. Makes really handy to have these little rags, especially for this kind of work. take some alcohol. This is a squirt bottle. I've forgotten exactly what they call these, but you can get these at McMaster Car. They're nice. They have a down straw that comes with them. The down straw would normally go in there, so that way this thing in a vertical position, you can squeeze it and the fluid will come out. The problem with that is when you're using, in this case, denatured alcohol, the heat will cause the alcohol to expand and the air to expand, and it'll start dripping or peeing out of the front of the bottle all the time. So I take the downspout off, so I just turn it like this, wet with some alcohol. Now, the alcohol is nice because it will clean the surface, and it won't hurt the vinyl, and it won't hurt the dried dot paint that I have there. But I'll make sure that I get this nice and clean. And we take our vinyl piece. Now we'll see if this is actually going to peel nicely. No. Okay, so you see what's happening here. Part of it's peeling, part of it's not. So this is a vinyl made by Oracle. Where is it? Let's see if you can see that. Oracle 651. Yes. I bought a Chinese off-brand, and I bought this Oracle trade brand, and I didn't notice a huge difference, but this does seem to be a little nicer. And this film is also an Oracle film, so it's supposed to be optimized for this film, but clearly it doesn't always work. So this is kind of a pain to do on camera, but let's see. Get these started. Now, once they're peeled up off the backing, they generally don't want to stick again, so you can just get them started. And that one didn't work. Generally get them started and transferred to the film, press them back down, and then you see it starts to peel up. So peel this off. All right, I'm going to peel this and we'll be back.